In today's video, things heat up when a group of officers demand identification from a calm and confident individual exercising their First Amendment rights. What starts as a seemingly routine encounter quickly takes a turn when the person stands their ground, knowing their rights better than the officers expected. It's a classic case of know the law, protect yourself, and this one doesn't disappoint. The setting is a public space where tensions rise as the officers grow increasingly insistent. But instead of folding under pressure, the individual holds firm, respectfully refusing to provide ID without cause. With cameras rolling, the confrontation reveals the balance between authority and personal freedom, shining a light on a question we should all ask. Do we truly understand our rights? As the situation unfolds, the officers seem caught off guard by this unshakable knowledge of the law. The back and forth builds suspense. Will the officers back down, or will the situation escalate? You won't believe how it all plays out. Stay tuned to witness a powerful example of knowing your rights in action. It's a story of accountability, confidence, and the power of standing up for what's right. As the camera keeps rolling, the officers ask again, their tone firm but measured, "We need to see your ID." But the individual, standing steady, responds calmly, "Am I being detained, or am I free to go?" It's a question that seems simple on the surface, but has deep legal weight. The officers exchange glances, clearly not expecting this level of composure. The scene takes place in what looks like an everyday location, maybe a sidewalk near government buildings or a public park. It's a reminder that these encounters can happen anywhere to anyone. Onlookers start to gather, some curious, others filming the situation themselves. The air is thick with tension as people wonder how far this will go. The officers try a different approach, insisting, "If you've got nothing to hide, why not just hand it over?" But the individual, unwavering, replies, "Respectfully, the law doesn't work that way. I'm exercising my rights, and I'm asking you to do the same." The officers seem torn. Should they push harder, or is this confrontation slipping out of their control? The crowd watches closely, and the pressure builds. What happens next could change everything. The officers shift their stance, clearly not used to someone pushing back so calmly. One of them steps forward, his voice firmer now. "We're conducting an investigation, and we need your cooperation." But the individual remains steady, replying, "Unless I'm legally required to comply, I'm respectfully declining." "Can you explain what law requires me to hand over my ID?" This isn't the response they were expecting. You can see the tension building as the officers glance at each other, trying to decide their next move. Meanwhile, the small crowd of bystanders grows larger, murmurs spreading as people pull out their phones to capture the moment. Some are whispering to each other, wondering if the individual is in the wrong, while others seem intrigued by the confidence they're displaying. The officer in charge appears to double down, stating, "This could all go a lot smoother if you just cooperate." The individual, unfazed, replies firmly but politely, "I'm cooperating fully within my rights. If you're not detaining me or accusing me of a crime, I believe this conversation is over." At this point, the crowd is hooked, their curiosity turning into silent support. The situation feels like it's teetering on the edge. Will the officers escalate, or will they retreat? The tension only thickens as the moment hangs in the balance. The air feels electric now, the weight of the moment pressing down on everyone. The lead officer, clearly frustrated but trying to maintain composure, steps closer and says, "We're giving you one last chance. If you don't provide your ID, you may face consequences." The individual doesn't flinch. Their voice remains calm but firm as they reply, "With respect, officer, I've asked if I'm being detained or accused of a crime. If the answer is no, I don't have to show ID. That's the law. The officer's jaw tightens as the words hang in the air, and for a split second, it feels like the balance of power could shift in either direction. The crowd is silent now, all eyes locked on the confrontation. A bystander whispers, they know their stuff, while another quietly wonders if the officers will back down. The tension between the officers and the individual feels like it could snap at any moment. One of the younger officers looks uncertain, glancing toward the lead for guidance. The lead officer hesitates, as if calculating the risk of escalating the situation further. The moment stretches, the suspense almost unbearable, as everyone waits to see what will happen next. Just when it seems like the officers might back off, a voice cuts through the tension from the crowd. Hey, what's the problem here? They're not doing anything wrong. A man steps forward, his phone aimed at the officers. He's clearly familiar with these kinds of encounters and starts addressing the group directly. You know they're right about the law. If they're not detained, you have no authority to demand ID. The officers shift their focus for a moment, looking slightly rattled by the unexpected interference. The lead officer narrows his eyes at the man. This doesn't concern you. Step back. But the newcomer doesn't budge, instead calmly stating, it concerns all of us when someone's rights are being tested. I've got this on camera too. The individual at the center of the standoff nods subtly toward the man, as if reassured by the support. The tension now feels even sharper, with two sides clearly forming. Law enforcement on one and citizens on the other. The officers are outnumbered, yet their authority gives them an edge. The lead officer straightens, his tone hardening. We'll ask one last time. Provide ID or face the consequences. Everyone holds their breath, the energy crackling as the stakes hit an all-time high. What happens next could change the game entirely. The lead officer takes a deep breath, his frustration visible, and steps forward, as if ready to escalate the situation. But just as he opens his mouth to speak, the individual calmly reaches into their pocket. The crowd tenses, unsure of what's happening, and the officers instinctively shift their stance. What comes out isn't an ID. It's a small pamphlet. The individual unfolds it slowly, holding it up for everyone to see. This is a printed copy of the state laws regarding ID requirements, they say with measured confidence. It clearly states that unless I'm detained or suspected of a crime, I'm not obligated to provide identification. The officers freeze, their authority momentarily challenged. The lead officer snatches the paper and glances over it, his expression shifting from annoyance to quiet acknowledgement. The younger officer, still visibly unsure, murmurs, "Is this accurate?" The lead officer doesn't answer right away. Instead, he hands the pamphlet back, signaling to the others to step down. "You're free to go," he says reluctantly. But just as the crowd starts to relax, one of the bystanders speaks up. "Wait. If they were free to go this whole time, why did you keep pushing?" The officers don't respond, walking away in silence. The crowd erupts into murmurs, and the individual turns to the camera with a quiet smile, leaving viewers with a simple, powerful message. Knowing your rights can make all the difference.